Hello and welcome to a CBK gaming video. Join us as we discuss and review Warfighter, the modern Special Forces card game by Dan Versen Games. So what is Warfighter, and does it belong in your collection? These are the questions that we aim to answer. Warfighter is a military simulator game. You play soldiers and you can have squad mates in your unit. It's cooperative or a solo game. You are given a mission. In the base game, that's all set in the Middle East, and you are American forces trying to achieve key objectives, and you are given a mission brief which will include a number of resource points, and that's the amount of points you're allowed to spend on a soldier, a non-player soldier, a squaddy, gear for your soldier, which includes weapons, ammunition, SAM, so you can get stingers, you can get laws, grenades, flashbangs, smoke grenades, etc. Whole gambit of weapons. Then there are skills which you can allocate to your soldier that will allow him to achieve the objective easier. There are a set of hostiles. In this case you have Middle Eastern insurgents, you also have Middle Eastern military. There are a lot of expansions which allow you to add new adversaries. So there are Russians, Chinese, there's North Koreans, there's Africa, there's drug cartels. Then you've got all the extra soldiers that you can play. So they've got everything from the United Kingdom, Germany, France, South Korea, Russia, Poland, all their kit. They've then got things that change how you play the game. So speedball, which allows for the delivery of resources. There's the JTAC role, so you can actually call in a Reaper. There's a stealth component, so it adds a whole load of new stealth mechanics. There's one of our favourites, which is the Canine edition. There's Ferocious Females, which adds a whole load of new female characters. The Canine one especially adds, obviously, military dogs, gives objectives, gives fantastic items like these doggles, which I think is hilarious. There is so much to this, but the base game, you get a lot to play with already. It's approximately £50 in the UK, I think about $60 in America. The expansions, the little expansions, you're looking at £15 in the UK to about 17. And then there's some larger ones, and they're usually about £30. All in all, it's a really good deal for your money. We have played this 25 times plus. We've wanted to see how the game works and get a real understanding of all the different adversaries, the different characters you can play, understand the various nuances, and see how fighting in China compares to fighting in the Middle East or Eastern Europe. And I'm glad to say they all feel very different. In China, you weren't coming across very much, but the land itself was a problem. You had to get across mountains, you had to get across areas that were isolated. So you actually had it was a longer exposure with less adversarial component to it.
You may not have got stuck in one area because you were fighting a big group of people, but you may have got stuck in an area because you hadn't got the right cards, the right gear to move all of your soldiers out of there in one go. So you had to spend a couple of rounds moving, which was interesting because on one of the others we were used to trying to move on, but we're getting waylaid with the amount of enemy coming at us, and they're so different. It's wonderful to see.
We also bought the Footlocker. Highly recommend. You can fit about 3,000 cards in there and you will get there. We've got the PMC game in there as well, which also you also get the neoprene mat. You get some new encounters, so I think you get night fighting, which brings a whole new problem to the game. You get these scenarios which have been written by a number of people and other producers, which is fantastic. Really like seeing those. You get an up-to-date cheat sheet. I think you get another rule book. You get some plastic dividers, which really helps you organise. One of the things I quite like are the bullet dice. So instead of a 10-sided dice, you have a bullet that you roll, and actually they work quite well. Yeah. We've added a few things to the game, just for immersion and making it easier to identify whose troops are where. So we bought some of these collectible miniatures. So we've got an SAS trooper, we've got Delta Ranger, some British soldiers, a Gurkha, an Alpini, Italian Alpini, German KSK, and a Commando. It helps us identify who we're playing, and I think works really well, and actually pops on the table a bit more. We did only have 4, and then we realised that we had squad members and non-player soldiers that we needed to represent, so we bought a few more. Highly recommend getting something to put all the tokens in, because there is a lot. The sheer volume of cards you get in this game is insane. Now, all in all, the quality is superb. The photographs, the images, they're really good. I will say that the quality of the cards changes. They're really good, really nice quality card, and then I'm not sure when, but somehow they've changed. They're a lot more flimsy, and you can really feel the difference, and the colour, the print colour is a lot worse. That's not something they've really got much control over, something I can forgive DVG for. The cards work, the game works, doesn't have any impact. This game itself, all the components, it's a card game. I tend to find card games are less immersive. And we got this to the table. It's like playing through your favourite episode of The Unit or SEAL Team or Clear and Present Danger. It works so well. And some of the items that are in here, there's the African expansion, which I highly recommend. There's 2 of them. I think the African Warlords 1 and African Warlords 2. They add anti-poaching missions, which I really like. There's something that's a little bit different, appealing to a different demographic, I think.
I mean, myself, I'm not a big war gamer. I prefer more the fantasy side of board games. And so playing this, but going up against poachers, was a brilliant way to get me into it, because I wasn't just, oh, it's going to be all military and I'm supposed to know what the guns are. You don't need to, that doesn't come into it. But going after the poachers or something like that, it was such a wonderful change, and does get so immersive that even if you've got someone who's not a war gamer, they're going to enjoy this. They can get into the theme of the story, into the mission, and go with it.
It's another one of those games, like Fortune and Glory, that we're down the pub and we're talking about games that we've played and laughing about different things, and how Kit has brought down a Zeppelin in Fortune and Glory, and how Ken, everywhere Ken went, Nazis appeared, so he was obviously a collaborator. This is another one of those games where you remember moments really stick out. One of those, we got to the end. We'd taken out the poachers, just about to take out the poachers. Drew the card, and one of them is Hungry Hippos, and you have to, I think it's experience points to cancel that attack. Nobody had any, so Kit died on the last item before we actually took out. I think it wasn't the poachers. I think it was take out a VIP, and it was just one of those moments that was really funny, and made the night. We won, but we took a casualty. All in all, a really good, well-crafted narrative game. There are dice to work out whether you hit. The way that it works, you get location cards. You have these action cards, which you will see on the screen. Your health equals the amount of cards that you get. There are some ways that you can actually increase this number of cards, but essentially you will have a pool of cards. Those cards will allow you to enter buildings, may give you a location. That there'll be some instructions on what you need to do to get into there. You'll have a number of actions, normally around 2 per soldier. Sometimes you might have a third action. Everything there's a resource and a cost, and there's a consequence of you taking items or doing something. You will have your objective set on one of the numbered spaces from 1 to 12. They're normally around 6 to 8. Your goal is to get there. You do that by placing the locations. The locations will tell you how many hostiles you'll need to draw. And this is where the game works very well. In the Middle East, there's mosques, there's markets, there's tight roads, and you have to be aware of all the different nuances that might be found in those locations, and the trouble that might bring. So you don't want to open up with explosives, so grenades or rockets or fully automatic gunfire into a crowded marketplace. But the hostile insurgents are going to use that to their advantage, and they're going to snipe you, or they might even use IEDs, suicide bomber attacks. So you have to select your targets. How do you fight your targets? Well, you roll dice, and that's where this D10 and the D6 come in. All the hostiles, as you'll see on the screen now, have a cover value. That cover value you need to beat on a D6, and then the D10, your weapon will have a hit number, or the soldier will have a hit number. You have to beat that number. And there's range 0, range 1, and range 2 if you're lucky enough to have a sniper rifle. If you miss, but you beat the cover, you suppress your enemy. If you hit, but don't beat the cover, you suppress your enemy. But if both meet the target number, you kill your enemy. And it's that simple. There are some extra bits and pieces. Adding a suppressor means that if you score a kill, you also score a suppress. And you work your way through the locations step by step, very carefully, dealing with any hostile and any event that appears. The flavour comes in those hostiles. So the Middle Eastern insurgents feel very different to the Middle Eastern military, and they're up gunned. They've got vehicles which you really need to deal with, and suddenly, instead of going armed to fight insurgents, you're going to need to start arming yourself with slightly heavier weapons, perhaps even having a Reaper up. Going against Russia, you've got to start taking into consideration tanks, their air assets, and we found that we had to start taking stingers. We had to start taking laws. We even started to look at N-laws because we had to take out those vehicles. It was almost impossible to win otherwise. China, you still had those to take into consideration, but the terrain was your enemy a lot more. Africa, you had the and the drug cartels. They were a lot. There was a lot more of them. They weren't as good. They couldn't hit you as well, but they swamped you. They didn't have many vehicles, but they had some really nasty informant mechanics. So you ended up getting more and more up here, and that became a problem. And North Korea is a bit different. It's very well crafted. There's an expansion which I highly recommend you get, which is the FBI hostage rescue team, and it's basically a Christmas game. It's Nakatazi Plaza.
Yeah.
It's Die Hard, and who doesn't want to play a game of Die Hard on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve? Am I wrong?
No,
it's a Christmas movie after all. Settled that one. We also just recently, we hadn't been able to get hold of the expansion for a long time, got the American Airborne Special Forces, and this adds a really nice new element of parachuting, overshooting your target drop zone, false information, and suddenly your objective is moving further and further away from you. You're taking mortar fire, you've been spotted, and you've got bad luck. It's a really clever mechanic. I really enjoyed playing with that, and I really look forward to seeing how that's used then in the Shadow War, which is the night fighting part of the Special Forces game, which we will be reviewing along with PMC. This was the first DVG game I got into for Warfighter. I'm so sad I missed the World War II games, but I've ordered those. We will be reviewing the European theatre, the Pacific. On top of that, they've got Cthulhu expansions. So, fighting Cthulhu in World War II, what's not to like? Yeah. There's also, as I said, the Special Forces one, the PMC one. There's two more coming that I backed on Kickstarter, which is the Mediterranean World War II campaign and the Middle Eastern campaign. So Africa, the Desert Rats. I'm really looking forward to getting those, and we will be reviewing those. I've gone all in on those, so we'll be reviewing absolutely everything. There's a few expansions that we don't have for this game. We will be adding those as we find them. They're not always easy to find in the UK. I will put a link in the details below because we've found two places that always sell them and really good. I can't remember the name of the companies off the top of my head, so we'll put their details in. And they're absolutely fantastic. They always ship them almost immediately. And I think we've seen them quite a few times at UK Games Expo, and they've been really good. They do keep feeding my habit. So we've also got Thunderbolt Apache Leader to review, Hornet Leader to review, all the expansions for Thunderbolt Apache Leader. I think we've got Tiger Leader coming, we've got Sherman Leader coming, Gato. Yeah, I might have gone a bit mad on DVG games. I really like them. Also, you need to collect all your tokens in some way.
But I really like, there are a lot of tokens, but I like the attention to detail that's been put in on it. It's not just here's 5 tokens for explosives. It's here's 3 or 4 tokens for this particular grenade, and then here's a couple of tokens for this type of grenade. And so depending on what model of grenade you take out, you get the tokens for your weapon. And I really do like that, and I appreciate it.
Yes, I think they've done an absolutely excellent job in the whole representation. We've played this a lot. One of the things we like doing is do the whole Rainbow Six team, so we can play anybody from any of the countries. So we've got, I've got a favourite who's who's the KSK. I think Kit always tends to gravitate towards the British Commandos. You like the French because they got the P90.
They've got the P90.
And that's quite good fun, playing sort of that Rainbow Tom Clancy idea of Rainbow Six. That works quite well, and I think the idea of a campaign, there are some rules for campaign. It's not very well done. I don't think it's particularly well thought out, but there is a fantasy version coming out. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a fantasy Warfighter. They've been doing the rules and they've got rules for a campaign. We will be reviewing that. I haven't ordered it yet. It's definitely on my list to purchase. And in that there's going to be some rules around a campaign. And this game calls out for this. I think it's a really good idea to play a full campaign in this, and something I'm really looking forward to. Actually, I think you say you're not massively into war games. I think you were surprised by how drawn into this game you became.
Yeah, I was, because of how thematic it is, and the photos on the cards. They're all they're genuine photos, and they've actually got some of where they were taken and who's in them, which gets you even more immersed in it. And I found, the first one we did, going through the jungle, and I just felt I was watching Clear and Present Danger. Mm-hmm. And I could picture it in my head, and being able to see that film in my head and portray that on the table really got me into the game. And from there, I was able to do the same with when we were watching SEAL Team. I could relate to the game then, again, after that, and yeah.
I think it also helps that the missions and objectives are very different, and they've done that very, very well. There are of course going to be some where they are very similar. So you have a lot of, I think on the Chinese, the Russian and the Middle Eastern, take out the high value target. You've got X amount of turns, usually one, to take that shot. So you want a sniper, you want somebody with a sniper rifle in your team. But then the jungle ones, you've got take out the drug mules, take out the drug runners. The Chinese one, really enjoyed that. There's a blow up the bridge, so you've got to take explosives with you to take out the bridge. Blow up the pipeline, so you're going after infrastructure. There's some where you have to take out a bomber, so you're going to need to take those SAMs with you. You're going to need to take them out with your anti-air assets. The last game we played was with the airborne, and it was a high value target, but it was a capture, not a kill mission. So we armed ourselves with flashbangs. I flashbanged the room. Karen took the HVT prisoner, and you had to do that using a hand-to-hand mechanic that's in the game, and it wasn't easy.
No.
That really came down to the wire. I think we were on the penultimate turn.
Yeah.
I will say some of the games that we've played, the Russian game, and so the Russian game, the first time we played against the Russians, we died. We didn't really have squad soldiers with us. We didn't have non-player soldiers with us, and we just got obliterated. I don't think we worked particularly well together. I think Kit was quite separate to himself. You and I were quite separate. You've got to work together. You have to work as a team in this game, and support one another. We've then played with squaddies, taking the anti-air assets, taking the laws as well to deal with their vehicles, and we did it. It was, and there was quite a bit of time left, so I think we did quite well. The Chinese mission to blow up the pipeline, that was really good. Again, we did that easily within the time limit, but we had a real hard time in the mountains trying to get across, and we did take some wounds. We didn't take any losses, so I think it's always been quite close. I think we've lost quite a few games, but once you've learnt it a little bit, you begin to work out how to deal with that suppression, how to deal with the wounds, making sure you take first aid kit, making sure somebody's a corpsman. Skills add to all of that. Skills are really good. You'll see a selection of those skills on the screen now as well. But to answer the question, does it belong in your collection? If you like narrative games, if you like military games, if you like to spend some time with your friends working out how to meet an objective, what tools you need to achieve that objective, yeah, absolutely, this really belongs in your collection. Which one? World War II, modern day night, PMC, that's up to you. Personally, I get the lot. I really enjoy the game. They are different enough that they are still all fun. Whether that's a different time and era, or whether that's a different type of gameplay, you can go through the Shadow War without killing anyone. And I really like that idea of being able to sneak in and then when it all goes wrong, having to react and run on the fly. So yes, this belongs in your collection. Which version? Up to you. My suggestion, the lot. If I was going to give this an arbitrary number, as we say, out of 10, to me this is one of those games. Now, I don't give 10s very lightly. I've only given one game 10, and that was Tainted Grail. I didn't even give Folklore 10. This is as close as it gets to a 10, and I think that's the 9.5. This to me is similar to Folklore. It's the game that I will opt to play time in and time out, and I'll play this on my own. I'll play this with just the two of us, or if there's a number of us playing as well. I'm really interested in how the fantasy one works, but what about you, Karen?
For me, I do really enjoy it, but at the end of the day, it is still using guns and weapons and sort of. It is modern warfare, but even World War II would still be modern when I'm used to the sort of bow and arrow. I like the fantasy sword, shield, bow, arrow type. So for me, I'm going to say it's probably about a 7. It's something that I do enjoy playing, but it's not one I'm going to get off the shelf. But I'm happy to play whenever you get it down.
So all the time then.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's our view of Warfighter, the modern Special Forces card game. Go and get it. Put it in your collection. If, like us, or like me, you like military style games with a good narrative and that are cooperative. We're now going to be playing Oathsworn, so we'll be bringing a review of Oathsworn out very soon. We will also be reviewing Everrain and Massive Darkness 2. We were going to review Massive Darkness 2 before Warfighter, however, we wanted to play a couple more games of it to fully appreciate the different styles of games, because in the first one, the different missions in the rule book gave you different flavors of the game, and we didn't want to give it a rating without fully understanding all of those maps, the nuances that go with it. So thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. We really want to build up our viewers. We really enjoy doing this. We're getting back to doing it, getting back into the stride of doing it now. And you will see a video from us at least once a week, bringing you a review of these games. We will be doing some reviews of individual expansions. There are some that I think we really need to do as individual expansion reviews. Although I think a lot more of those are in the Warfighter Shadow War. So there's the mission to get Osama bin Laden, there's General Soleimani. So there's some really interesting missions that they've got there, and it'll be very interesting to play those through and actually review those. So thank you for watching, and look forward to talking to you in a week's time. Bye.
Bye.